Chronojet Dragon, one of the main faces of JIRA, with both being a flagship deck, having huge toolbox capability of Time Leap, and being a powerhouse with Zodiac Time Beast and Alpha Tsuchi Zone options. Chronojet also made a hype, yet short-lived comeback in V during the next stage booster set. And, eventually, Chronojet came to D with the release of its Stride deck set, and became one of the biggest decks to define the format up until Set 10's release. The idea of the product was mainly being built ready for competitive play and being one of the most accessible products released, mainly through Crest, Stride, Upstream, GG, etc. It additionally had immediate support from previous sets, notably Brainwash Swirler from Set 4 and Gungan Ram from Set 1. Alongside in the deck set was Agandia to provide extra shield, and Steam Breath to be used as both Stride fodder and to filter search for copies of Chronojet. Sarah is also there, but usually were immediately cut for space. There was also additional techs included, such as Amazement Magician to both Soul Charge and pump up Swirlers, Eden to apply on-hit pressure for threatening boards during G2 games or generally, Bedjewel and Jewel Corp being power gain in G2 games, and budget options such as Ling as filter and Soul Engines, and Mikani providing 2-in-1. Well, before it, of course, got expensive and all that. More techs in later sets would roll in, with Zargan, Lamina, Causality, etc., as Jet had to, and still even now continues to, rely on generics to support itself. And no, I'm not going to mention the grade 2 it got in Set 11, though on the topic of Set 11, it introduced the order package, which I'll just link Changgu's Chronojet primer in the description if you're interested about reading about that, but we'll mainly be focusing on the peak from Set 8 and onward. Anyways, grade 1s were mainly king in providing Jet an early game to work off, alongside the additional draw that came in with the Crest Maker, making going second ideal for the deck. Being able to call any Soul Charger and then a GG for her to draw you and net you a 0 from her opened more room for aggressive plays in early turns, whether it would be going for a column or wide. Upstream Dragon is also one of the main engines that keeps the deck running, mainly for the first Stride turn. It's able to swing for 15, paired with a 13k Swirler, making 28 and ripping at least 2 cards or one front, or else 23k boosted to at least rip a 15k shield. Upstream is also able to substitute itself into a booster while also toolboxing for any grade 1s, whether it being a GG to spam draws, or a Swirler or Gungan Ram to pump up Swirler power. But the main loop of Upstream and GG that keeps the deck together is through Fate Rider Dragon, butt decking any target and superior calling something with the unit's grade +1. Essentially, you would use your rested units as the cost and renew them into another attack without losing any cards, followed by Fate Rider then giving power according to how many face-up cards there are in the G-Zone. The combo generally goes, swing Upstream boosted with any grade 1, turning Upstream into any grade 1 and calling into a different column, then swing Fate Rider turn the rested grade 1 into another Upstream, then using that grade 1 that's standing to boost the Upstream that was newly called, to then turn that Upstream into a GG to plus. To pack in the massive advantage engine also follows the insane finisher for the deck, Chrono Dragon Next Stage, giving you 2 Vanguard swings and 5 drives, on top of already massive crest power. You also remember how Chronojet also has Guard District? Yeah, pray that you didn't use up your Elementaria earlier. Overall, Chronojet was able to both scale in advantage and through crest power. Paired with its capability of an early game, this gave Jet huge coverage as a mid-range deck, and is what allowed it to dominate a majority of the competition, especially during Set 8. Notably, being the first ever Stride deck that came to D, Jet introduced new game states for D that even now Shiranui and Luard influence, the grade 2 game. This was particularly true with the mirror match, and sometimes with decks that have access to grade for a greater opponent Vanguard skills that were potentially capable of matching it, particularly with mask or skill locked cards. But generally in the mirror, the first player to ride was usually at a disadvantage, as the first player to stride was the one that's more favored to win the game, as he had access to both 4 swings, good numbers, triple drive, early crest farming, and etc. In the G2 game, players will be given the choice either to ride up and gamble that they can sack their way into winning, tank the first Stride turn, or to just go apeshit and beat each other on grade 2 until one side has too much damage to handle the next turn. Because of the grade 2 game, it also became one of the biggest influences in Jet's own deck construction, where cards that can draw, retire, and have power game for the G2 game mattered heavily, and generally whoever came up on top of the G2 games would be favored in the mirrors. But in the Set 8 landscape where Jet was most prominent in, its main competitors alongside were Ava, Dote, Youthberg, Lutetia, and Wellstra. Eva, notably being the deck that could consistently keep up with her own scaling and arguably a stronger turn 3, turn 4 than Chronojet, also was one of the decks that could afford running up against it going first. Overlord and Youth both having their respective scaling via hand advantage and sack potential, Lutetia having both sack potential and absurdly stupid columns when she high rolls, and Wellstra, which took the glass cannon approach of being Jet through retiring the back row, 5 attacks, and power reduction. Of course, there's also a few notables that did appear during the BSF season, such as Minerva, PBO, Gravidia, Flagbrick, Tamayura, etc., which could also put up a fight against Chronojet. In fact, my team in BSF Sydney surprisingly managed to make it top 8 without a Chronojet during that time. That was pretty cool. I think. But moving on later was the announcement of the Swirler GG restriction, which ultimately led to a decline in jet players. Having to cut Swirler caused the deck out to lose on some early tempo, the first stride 28k column, losing on general write-up power, and even the spammable Soul Generator paired with the most flexible draw engine the deck had. However, this ban actually led into further experimentation to seek improvement from what was lost, such as Zargan GG, Devil Package, Orderjet, Lamina builds, and inevitably these still saw tops in JP and EN, and actually gave the deck a second win for a while even after its prime. Chronojet fairly had a good run and surprisingly still saw play around Gnevil was the meta, and even now very rarely, you'll still see some players still playing in Nui Luard meta and a little into Divine Set 1. And even now still has more tools to play around with, such as Yorda promo, the Cat for additional shield, countercharge, Noctizario, the Energy Cycler, even the Geargut promo for even better early game and a draw engine. Oh, there's also more stuff, but I'm just gonna put them here. Because the deck is way past its prime now, the choice restriction had been lifted in Japan. However, at the time of writing this, it's still... yeah... I'm sorry, Swirler, but surely later it's gonna be freed. Who knows? Also gotta hope that Bushi never, prints a Gear Groove for a deck set, because, Crestjet's a deck for sure. That'll be all for Chronojet. If you enjoyed the vid, please do leave a like, comment, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. We also got really cool merch. You should have a look if you want the funny Trickstar that I drew. It's on the shirt and the mug, I guess. That's something to look at, 100%. We also opened channel memberships pretty recently, so if you'd like to support the channel, please do consider joining. We get a few pretty cool perks and more upcoming, so stay tuned for those. Until next time, I'll see y'all guys in the next video. Peace. お前友達いねえだろこのストーカー野郎が